Today's episode of Inside Quotes is brought to you by our Patreon. Be one of the first 10 people to sign up, and you will get an exclusive merch item based on Inside Quotes. We've got our back burner shows, and also we've done a new movie review for Inside Out 2, featuring our friend Kyle Forsyth. So sign up for Patreon to get that exclusive review.
And on with the show. Hello and welcome back to Inside Quotes, the show where my brother and I rewatch, review, and relive the staples of our childhood. Today we are covering episode 106. And I'm your host Jeremy, and with me today is my older brother Jonathan. Jonathan, welcome back to the show, and welcome inside to the show.
Oh, quack quack. Thank you for inviting me inside, Jeremy. I appreciate that.
Well, it's either in or out, dude.
On the show. I'm in, dude. Over 100 episodes, I'm in.
Oh, that's good. Oh man,
I was talking to Dad earlier, and he was just remarking me like, "Man, you guys have been doing that for like 4 years." And I'm like, "Yeah, we're gonna be famous any day now."
Yeah,
been doing that for 4 years. We've only been doing it for 4 years. That's how I look at it.
Exactly. It's a journal, really, for us. I expect to listen to this when we're both in the nursing home. Okay, that's sad. Moving on.
I think this is a way of preserving our core memories, wouldn't you say, Jeremy? Before we forget them.
Absolutely.
Before sadness touches them and they turn blue.
They need another emotion called forgetfulness. That's got to be a concept when in the third one, maybe, when she just has so many memories where she just forgets them. Anyways, so today we are covering Inside Out, the 2015 movie?
I think so. Yeah, 2015.
Okay.
I always think it's 14 for some reason, but yeah, 2015. And Jeremy, this was your pick this week, so why'd you want to talk about this one?
Well, I mean, have you ever wondered what goes on inside someone's head?
All the time.
I didn't until I watched this movie. Yeah, so there's lots of emotions, good, bad, joyful, sadful, fearful, disgustful.
And just full.
In our life, especially this summer, because there's a lot of different life changes going on this summer for me and for you, and we're no longer living together, and that's super sad because we don't get as much time together. And like a lot of that has been processing lately. And you know, things are good. But Inside Out 2 came out. That's pretty much why we chose it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to watch this. Yeah. No, I wanted to watch the first one because I hadn't since it came out, and I didn't like it at first.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, okay, we're going to go see Inside Out 2, so I need to watch the first one again. Just to make sure I hate it before I go into the second one. And I didn't hate it. I went in with like an okay mindset, but I didn't hate it the second time through.
So, do you remember like what some of your complaints were the first time you saw it? Or had it just been so long?
No, I remember not liking it because I've always said this on the show. I don't like the intangible concepts of Pixar, because Pixar started out amazing, and it was like taking certain concepts in our everyday life and showing them, bringing those things to life. Whether it be bugs in our backyard, our toy chest, our monsters in the closet. That's some things we can't see. Or like superheroes in our comic books, stuff like that. It's all like things we can imagine, sort of. Probably the most out there one was Monsters Inc. because we've never seen a monster like that, but it's still, they're still beings and stuff. So, but this didn't want you to latch on and make it into a thing necessarily, because it's a thought. It's super complicated. But this is inside my brain. I feel violated because it wasn't the way that I thought I wanted it, or the structure of how I believed emotions worked.
Yeah.
And it's not supposed to be that either. It's just supposed to be a way to explain emotions to other people. And I think that's super valuable, and I love it. So I don't know what I was upset about.
I do remember, I didn't see this one in the theaters, but I do remember you seeing it, and you're like, oh, it wasn't that good. And I was like, oh, okay. So I just kind of got around to it, after it came out on video or something, and I watched it, and I was like, oh, I liked it. I thought it was good. I don't really know what you're talking about. But then I proceeded to, like, not watch it again for, like, over 10 years. Like, it just didn't really, like, stick with me. But I feel like it's been memed a lot with, like, the term core memory.
Yeah.
That's, like, something that is, like, we've talked about, and it's something that, like, people talk about on, like, TikTok or whatever. Like, this was a core memory, and they'll
I don't even think it's memed. I think it's, like, a part of our life now. I think it's just, that's what a core memory is. I don't remember saying the word core memory before this movie, but maybe it was a thing. But, like, those concepts are all a part of how we think about ourselves now. And that's crazy for a Pixar movie.
Yeah. Do you have any core memories you'd like to share?
Oh, boy.
It's hard to... I feel like something has to trigger it.
Yeah.
And it happens a lot on the show. But it's hard to just, like, rattle one off.
It has to be about something, because there's a lot of core memories. One thing that's coming... I just go to earliest memory for some reason.
Yeah.
And I have a scary, like... I had a nightmare when I remember being in the crib. But I just remember just roaches and roaches just piling into my crib. And I had to be like 2 or 3 years old, maybe. How old do kids when they leave the crib? I don't know.
Shoot, my experience, probably when they're 18, that's when they leave the crib.
Yeah, for sure, dog. For sure, yeah.
I don't know. Depends. See, some people talk about memory's a funny thing, and people will say they have memories from when they were real small, like 1 year old or something like that. And then some people are like, oh, I don't really remember much until I was like 3 or 4. That's kind of the way I am.
Yeah.
There's things that I've like, there's pictures I've seen and home videos I've seen. And so that kind of confuses me, as I can't tell if like, oh, if I remember that from being there, or if that was like just, oh, I saw the video of myself, at my first birthday.
You can remember anything, but you need that trigger to trigger it. And that home movie is a trigger.
See, one of the things, like, at the start of the movie, like, one of her core memories is like when she's born and like her father holds her, right? And she's just like, oh, aren't you a bundle of joy? And like that,
you don't
becomes
understand
the
English.
first core memory. That becomes her first core memory, and then it kind of explains that. And I'm like,
was it a core memory?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it explained the concept. It showed the first like memory being created. Yeah, at least of that.
I thought it was just an introduction to memories, but I didn't think it was a core memory.
Well, even if it's not a core memory, you have to remember it, right? I feel like you wouldn't remember just being born.
Maybe in short term, super short term. I think it was more of a way to just introduce the characters.
Yeah.
And then it was like whisked away into the abyss, never to be seen again.
The dad said she was a bundle of joy, and automatically joy is her dominant emotion.
Yeah.
I'd be curious how this movie works with like explaining emotions to kids and that sort of thing as like a parent. I'd be curious if this is helpful or if this like does more harm than good. I don't know. If kids are just saying like, "Oh, it's not me, it's just my anger emotion is controlling me right now," are they just blaming
Right.
they're out of control? Or I don't
Right.
know. I'm not a parent, so I can't speak to that. But
Well, this sort of reminds you of, I guess there's a story that maybe our older brother Justin, when he was a little kid,
oh yeah,
like
yeah,
when you always imagine that you have different sections of your stomach for dinner time. So you've got broccoli stomach, you've got your pizza stomach, and then you got your dessert stomach. You got your gross stuff that you don't really want, that's a small stomach. Then you got your good stomach, which is like as much, it's endless, like pizza.
Yep.
You can have as much as you want. And then even if you're full there, then you have your dessert one that kicks in and opens up, and then you're like, well, I could have dessert now. So Justin, our older brother, had it in his mind that he had people inside of his stomach. So like, all my broccoli men are full is a thing that he said. That's a quote that Mom would always say. And you know what? That makes sense.
but who wasn't full?
His dessert men.
Yeah, the ice cream men.
The ice cream men, yeah. And I think this is cool because it's like stuff inside of you. Imagine there's this show from the early 2000s, maybe, called Osmosis Jones. You ever watch that?
Oh, yeah, it was a movie too, and
Yeah.
then they had the show. And I kind of feel like I saw some of the show, but I never saw the movie, and so I was kind of confused by it because I wasn't like fully in it.
Well, I watched maybe like an episode or maybe just the movie of it, and it was basically every part of your body in the world is someone's body. And it's very similar to Inside Out, only this is more like the digestive system, and like there's like a robot in it that's really like a pill that's come down.
Yeah.
And like Osmosis Jones is like maybe a thing of bacteria, maybe? I don't know. It was
I
interesting.
think he's water. Right?
He's just water? Osmosis,
I don't
that
know.
makes sense. I want to watch that now.
Yeah. Yeah, we should. Maybe that's a back burner.
Hey, maybe.
You know, when you were talking, okay, you started to go down a tangent of possibly what could be an Inside Out 3. And I was thinking like, oh, is Inside Out going to be like, is it like the next generation's Toy Story where you follow the same kid all the way through high school, where like Riley is like the Andy stand-in?
Yeah.
I feel
Only
like that's
they can
possible.
go throughout her whole life in this way. Like there's college to go through, there's adulthood as a parent, there's
I
don't
just think
know.
making that interesting for kids probably isn't the best idea
yeah,
as far as like getting into adulthood.
That's
I
true.
feel like it's probably like graduating high school and going to college.
That'll be the third
Probably if they did a third one, but this movie came out during like peak Parks and Rec time, right? Because it's got Amy Poehler in it, and it has a lot of the cast from like The Office.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just feel like that time, this one was. I looked at this one a little bit differently because it felt like there was a lot more celebrity cast in it.
Yeah,
than,
maybe
like-
that's another reason why I didn't like it. It's because it's
Than other
we
ones?
were peak watching The Office and Parks and Rec and SNL, and we knew all these people from other things. And I guess since we're adults, I guess the people that were adults when Toy Story came out felt the same way. Possibly, probably not.
I mean, the other movies all had like celebrity cast. I guess it was just like more like current, and I was aware of like the pop culture.
Yeah,
And so I was more aware of like, oh, that's why they're picking these people at this time
yeah,
for
yeah.
such a time as this to be in this movie.
Right. Like they didn't. None of them needed this in their
Mhm.
career at this point because they were on. All of them were on successful TV shows.
Triple them come now.
But yeah, for this movie, we've got Riley is the main character, and she's
She
I guess
seems like a
young
side
preteen
character,
girl.
though.
You think so?
It doesn't even seem like she's a character, really.
I mean, she's the Bill Murray character of Osmosis Jones in this scenario.
Bill Murray was in that movie.
I'm pretty sure, and I never saw it. I
thought
just
that
saw
was
the
Dan
trailer.
Aykroyd.
Bill Murray's in this picture. It's a classic story of moving away and having a hard time fitting in
Mm-hmm.
at a new school in a new place where everything's different. Where they put they put broccoli on pizza. I don't know what that's about.
That's crazy. It's probably good though, honestly.
I'd eat it.
I'm gonna try it.
As a
We'll-
kid,
we'll
I'd
do a
probably
recipe
like,
for the
yeah.
patrons.
The broccoli pizza.
Yeah.
If I was going down the line of CC's Pizza back in the day, I probably wouldn't have picked that one first.
Okay. Yeah,
What would you have picked?
You were a child then, so that makes sense. I love vegetables on my pizza though.
It's
But
supreme.
you're right. That's not what I'm picking on the. I guess the equivalent would be spinach pizza. And I found that disgusting as a kid.
I always go for the meat trio or whatever, the meat lovers.
Yeah.
I would also get just a plain cheese. It's always nice just to have a slice of plain cheese.
The control group.
And then I would probably supplement that with probably like some kind of barbecue pizza, I think.
Yeah.
And then maybe on my second round I would try something else that had broccoli on it or something different. But really I was saving room for like the dessert pizzas too.
The cinnamon rolls.
Mm-hmm.
See, I'm very different with you when it comes to pizza. I like vegetables and I like meat, but I don't like too much meat and I don't like just vegetables. So I'm just a supreme guy. I'm just a supreme kind of guy.
Supreme.
Hawaiian every once in a while, which this movie bashed.
Yeah, that's minus a star for me, honestly.
San Francisco, they ruined pizza. First the Hawaiians, now this. Ugh.
When we went to a pizza place before we saw Inside Out 2, Bricks.
Yeah, we did. Bricks
And
Pizza.
we had a
in
really good
Hendersonville.
Hawaiian pizza there.
That was so good. It had like, oh no, it was prosciutto, pineapple, and then jalapeno and cilantro. That's what it was. And it was on a wood-fired crust, and it was so good. Anyways,
good.
if you're ever in Hendersonville, Tennessee, and you need to go get pizza, go to Bricks. It's really good.
Anyways, Riley moved to San Francisco from like Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so it's totally different. Obviously, it's totally different culture. She's not really fitting in. And so it's like she's experiencing these like sad emotions, I guess, for like the first time. It's a more complicated sadness than just like, oh, I didn't get what I wanted and I'm gonna cry kind of thing. It's more of like a missing your friends, that sort of thing.
Which is something Joy has to cope with for this whole movie.
Yeah.
It's like sadness is a necessary emotion. And sometimes there's joyful sadness. And sometimes sadness can touch the joyful memories, and that's okay.
Yeah, sadness has this urge to like to take action and to be at the controls, I guess, of her mind and of her emotions, as is natural. And like the whole I don't know, the crux of the movie is Joy is saying like, oh, we just want her to feel happy, that's my job. And so I'm just gonna push Joy and never not allow her to feel any sadness about this change or this transition whatsoever.
Yeah.
And it just makes things worse.
This is the most complicated Pixar movie I've ever seen. It's up there with Inception. but for
Okay.
Pixar, for kids. It's Inception for kids. That's what I'm saying. It's Tenet for kids. It's a Christopher Nolan Pixar movie. That's what this is. You can't deny it. I love that at the beginning it shows that all these emotions have emotions too, and within the first scene you can see Joy go through all of the other emotions all at once. So you could see in her face that she had sadness and fear and disgust by reacting to the other emotions. And it was really weird and cool.
It's impossible to like characterize them and not have them display any other emotions, but obviously like they're one-sided in the fact that they have one dominant mission is to express this one emotion. And what are the main emotions in this movie? We've got joy that we mentioned, played by Amy Poehler.
Sadness.
We've got sadness,
fear, disgust.
fear, and disgust. Yeah, and
There's
anger.
5 and anger. Yeah.
Those are the big 5 in the first movie. Did you have a favorite?
I feel like anger really made me laugh the most.
Yeah, I think he's easy.
I think Amy Poehler can get into her Leslie Knope and just kind of takes over, and that's kind of annoying to me a little bit. And then sadness is just too sad.
Yeah.
Disgust is irrelevant to me. Like, and fear is funny too, but I think anger was the funniest for me.
Yeah, I think so too. That's something I was going to bring up earlier about the Parks and Rec and stuff. Is that I did feel like it was a similar character to Leslie Knope.
Right.
Like I feel like
Which is why they probably cast
it's just
her.
something she would do. Is like she would just be like, "Oh, Aziz, you can't be sad. Treat yourself." No, I don't,
Right.
that's not even her catchphrase. But like, I feel like she would be kind of like domineering and like try and cheer people up and stay positive. And that's one of the things about her character that's great in the show. But I did feel like that was kind of similar for Inside Out. So I remember I did kind of feel conflicted about that.
Yeah.
Besides which emotion is your favorite or which one entertains you the most, which one do you think is your dominant emotion? Which one's at the control of your life?
Right. I wouldn't say anger.
Mine
what do you
was
think?
definitely fear.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm afraid to mention that, but it's true. No. That's the one that like I would relate to most. That's kind of like where my mind goes to first. And then like, okay, it'll be okay. It's fine.
Yeah.
Chill out, dude.
Yeah. I mean, that's a little anxiety too, but those go hand in hand.
Mhm.
And that's the second movie.
Which we did discuss on our Inside Out 2 review, available now on Patreon.
Yep.
I did like in the second one, though, I mentioned it, is like fear and anxiety meet, and fear's like, oh yeah, we're going to be friends.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. That was really
That was good.
I don't know what I would put myself in if I'm limiting myself to these 5 emotions. I guess joy for me. I don't know, because I feel like it's pretty strong with the anxiety one. I think we all strive to have joy because it's the best one out of all those. Like, we don't want to feel fear, we don't want to feel sadness or disgust, but we always want to feel joy.
Here's someone I think that gets forgotten, or maybe is an underrated character in this movie, is Bing Bong.
I love Bing Bong.
And I wouldn't say he's forgotten, but like when you think Inside Out, I think of like the main emotions on the poster. But like I feel like Bing Bong is like one of the best parts about this movie.
He's the star of the movie, and
he has like one of the most emotional moments.
Mm-hmm.
Like rewatching it, like I got goosebumps at that scene.
Yeah. He
Did
was
you
also
ever
the
have an
funniest
imaginary friend?
because I did, and we could talk about this.
Okay.
I wanted to say the part where like Bing Bong being Park Dolphin just destroyed me. I was just, I was cackling at that for some reason. It just caught me off guard.
Mhm.
Yes, I did have I definitely had a reoccurring imaginary friend. His name was Brew, and he was a bear. He was a grizzly bear.
Mhm.
Although sometimes maybe I didn't know what kind of bears they were, because I'm pretty sure he was a brown bear deep down. But I've told my
Mhm.
family about it, and I had an uncle that painted me a painting of it, and it was a black bear. And then I had my great aunt write a little kids book about it in her writing class, and
Mhm.
she turned into a panda because I probably told her about a panda at the time. Anyways, yeah, I had an imaginary friend, and I had a recurring dream at the same time that Brew the bear would come down our street while we were playing basketball in our front yard, in our driveway, and from afar off, it was just a regular bear, and it was super scary. But as soon as he got closer, my fear started to go away.
Hmm.
And we just became best friends, and we like had a tree house and collected apples. We picked apples, and apples don't even grow in Florida, but that's what we did. Yeah, and I love bear movies because it gives me closer to my imaginary friend.
What is your top 5 bear movies besides Brother Bear?
Country Bears, Brother
Oh yeah,
Bear.
besides that one.
Uh,
Would you do like the Amazing Panda Adventure?
no, that's yours.
Hmm. Thanks for leaving me one.
Definitely not Open Season.
Oh man, no.
I don't know. Wait, there's plenty more. What am I thinking? Paddington,
Oh well,
Winnie the Pooh.
yeah. I know Doctor Doolittle 2 had Steve Zahn playing a bear.
Oh yeah, okay. Deep dive, deep dive.
So okay, question on that because I remember that being like a reoccurring dream that you had.
Yeah.
But did you ever like when you were awake in real life, like have times where you thought you saw Brew, or was it like an imaginary friend in your dreams?
I think most of the time it was in my dreams,
Mm-hmm.
but I would talk to I would talk to mom and dad about him during the day as if he
Mm-hmm.
were just my friend. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with Brew tonight when I go to sleep, anyways. So I feel like I said that. Give me something to look forward to bedtime because I
Yep.
didn't like going to bed. I still don't, even though I really could right now. I apologize to the listeners if I sound super tired because I am.
Well, maybe that just means Brew's coming back for another visit.
I would love that.
That'd be cool.
Man, Brew, if you're listening, what's up, man? Good to see
Brew, if you're listening, join us on Patreon.
you. So yeah, I think once I turned 6, I think he started to go away. And when we moved, for sure, I was like, how's he gonna know how to get back to our new house?
Oh
And
yeah.
I didn't. I think that's where my closure started to go, and I was kind of worried, like, where are we gonna put him when he comes over to stay? Because we don't have a treehouse, and we had a back deck, of course. So, but
Mm-hmm.
then apparently he went off to the circus, and I never saw him again.
But he's in here. He's in your mind somewhere.
And in my heart,
Yeah.
it just made me sad.
Okay, so well, sorry to be a downer.
It's okay.
I keep touching the core memories of Brew, and
I
it's
know.
turning blue now. uh, one thing that I did like about this movie that I thought was funny, and speaking of dreams and stuff, was like the sleep productions every night, right? And it was
Yeah,
like
I
it
like
was like a film
those.
crew.
Those are
I thought
fun.
that was a pretty clever idea. That's kind of the stuff I like about these movies the most, was some of the ideas like that. That was kind of funny.
Mhm.
Like the stream of consciousness, or like the train of thought,
Yeah.
like losing the train. And but yeah, the sleep productions was funny, and I liked the like the perception filters. It was like
Yeah.
the emotions would act it out, but then there would be like this perception filter over the camera so that
Yeah.
she would perceive it as like the people in her real life that are, interacting in the dream.
Yeah. And then
I
those
just thought that was
emotions
funny.
would bleed through those characters in the dream, and it just added a whole nother layer of inception. It's
Yeah.
crazy.
That part I would feel like that's kind of like Inception.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess it's because it's dreams. um. But yeah, the Graham Cracker Castle. What was that about?
I don't remember.
Like, what was
I know
the point
you
of
lost
it
it at
besides
that
the
part.
joke? It was so funny. Like the oh, I wonder why they moved it. It was just crumbled to the
Yeah.
ground. I don't know. I don't know what the theme was, but it was. And I love the imaginary, imagination land, right?
There was a House of Cards.
Yeah.
Um,
This movie's hard to talk about because it's just like a bunch of quick puns and quick jokes and concepts, and it's all like just watch it yourself.
I feel like the visual look of the mind is kind of like generic to me, to be honest. Like, it's
Yeah.
just a bunch of like colored orbs on a shelf, like the Hall of Prophecies in Order of the Phoenix, except for more colorful, and not just all
Yeah.
blue. And it's just like, it just like goes on forever. So I don't know, when you're like, it just kind of feels like a lot of scenes are just them like going down hallways with like all these orbs and pointing at stuff and like, oh, those are memories, and
Yeah.
like, it's okay. I feel like there's like the Islands of Personality, which kind of goes into it and is a little bit more defined. But even those are
Right.
just kind of like, I don't know, those are just kind of surface level. They're like, or like hobbies or interests. They're not necessarily personality, if that makes sense. There's only so much you can do to kind of, I'm trying to be like very literal and like understanding how it all works together, and it's just like, it's not meant to be that way.
Yeah.
But like, she gets sad about like her friends playing hockey without her and kind of moving on, her old team.
Yeah.
And like, basically like her whole friendship island just shuts down.
Right.
That's like a scene in the movie.
Wait, is that in number 2?
I think
No,
that's
this
in
is
the
number
first
1.
one. I think
Yeah,
that's the
yeah.
first one,
No,
because
just
it's when she
13.
moved away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's like talking to her friend back home, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we played, and there's this new girl on the team, and she's so cool." And
Yeah.
she's kind of just mad and jealous, and she's like, "I gotta go." I did think one of the funnier scenes in the movie was like the family dinner, where you get briefly into like the
Yes,
mom's
yes,
head and
yes.
the dad's head, and it's just the classic like, how was your day? It was fine, and there's something underneath the surface, but you don't know how to tease it out in the right way. And
That sounds about
I did
right.
think that was funny. Okay, one thing I did notice, I don't really know what to make of it, but all of the mom's emotions are all female and the dad's emotions are all male.
Yes.
But Riley's are like a mixture.
Interesting.
And I don't know that they're like trying to make any kind of statement by that or anything. I just noticed that was kind of like, anger sounds like a man, fear, but then there's joy and there's disgust, and it's a mix.
I think what's weird is that every other person, I think on a deepest level, since she's the main character, you have also the main characters be the
Right.
emotions, because
Yeah.
it's not just like that it's just them, their version of it. So you can tell I think that's just a choice because it's so you can tell this is the joy of her dad because it has a mustache.
Yeah. Also, the emotions of the parents seem like very similar. It's almost like the same emotion copied and pasted a bunch of times, but slightly different. And they're all like made to look like the parent.
Right.
You know, like they all look like the mom or they look like the dad in various forms, but
Yeah.
like none of the emotions with Riley look like her. That's
Right.
why I'm saying
Okay.
I don't think they're like. I think like you're saying they're just like the main characters, and they're trying to show the most personify the emotion of joy, personify fear in like the most clear way possible.
Right. And I say if they would have a movie where the dad is the main character, they wouldn't have the mustaches on. They just have the regular characters, I think. Maybe not. See, too complicated. Way too complicated.
It's a lot to think about.
It scares me to think about, actually. Too much. I'm overwhelmed.
Do you like the music in this movie, Jeremy?
It's stuck in my head.
It's got a memorable theme.
I don't know if I like it.
It's one that I can, like I know how it goes, like off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I think just because of the nature of the movie, it kind of has a ethereal, atmospheric sound to it, and also kind of like melancholy sadness to it. So it's not like a bright, happy, upbeat score, but it's still
It's
good.
got a mixture of all of them, a little bit.
Yeah,
or at least joy and sadness, because it's subtle,
yeah,
pleasant, yet a little sad.
It's not the one that I would listen to when I'm like at work trying to get business done, you know?
Okay, yeah, that would be National Treasure.
Of course. Well, this movie got a 98% on Rotten Tomatoes. So it was well reviewed, well loved by critics and everyone that went and saw it.
Yeah.
I if you can't tell from our discussion so far, like, we like this movie. Is it our favorite? No, I wouldn't say so. This isn't top tier Pixar for us.
I wouldn't even say it's 98%. I feel like I disagree with that. Just because...
I would put this in like the 80s. I feel like it's a solid B.
I agree too. I think it's just because we like the rewatchability factor. We value that a lot in our reviews. And this is just an exhausting movie to watch for me because it's so quick and it's so complex, and I don't want to be in my own head when I'm watching a movie. I want to turn it off.
Yeah,
turn my brain off when I'm watching a movie and enjoy it. Or if it's like an art piece, yeah, that's fun. But sometimes I'm not in the mood for that, so it's not going to be a 5 out of 5 for me, or a 4.5.
Yeah, I have a similar experience to that when watching these movies, is that they do feel a little like exhausting to me, of just like going through every single emotion that the character goes through. I feel like you don't necessarily do that with just the average movie. Like, yes, you have characters and you feel for them, and there's like this empathy, and you see the emotions that they're portraying, but you're not like in their head through like every moment of the entire movie.
Right.
And you're not seeing like every thought process playing out. So I just feel like it's something that it does feel a little exhausting by the time you get to the end of it. I like the movie. I just feel like I'm more of this, like the classic OG Pixar was like my generation. But I do feel like the kids that grew up with this, like, this is their Toy Story. I mean, this is up there with a lot of those classic movies. I feel like a lot of Pixar fans really regard this one pretty highly. And I can't argue with you if you're gonna say this is, one of your top. It is a good movie, but
yeah, it's all valid.
I'm a Toy Story guy myself.
I'm not even a Toy Story guy anymore these days.
Yeah, you're wrong for that.
I know.
And we'll talk about it one day.
One day.
Well, I guess we kind of talked about scores on a 100-point scale, but Jeremy, what's your letterbox score for Inside Out?
I'm giving it a 3.5.
Yep.
Unfortunately.
I think I am too.
I
That's
had
what
it
I have
as a
written down.
2.5 because I didn't like it before. But I bumped it up because it's above average and I actually like the movie. But I'm going to keep it at an arm's length for a little bit.
I guess a 3.5 is like technically, what is that, like a 75%?
Yeah.
But I do like, I'm going to put it at a 3.5 because I feel like 4 stars is too high for me. But at the same time, I do feel like
I feel like
should
it's
be
objectively a
80%.
4.5, but for me it's a 3.5.
Yeah.
So hopefully people will understand that.
It's better than we're giving it credit. But yeah, I think I'm going with a 3.5.
Yeah. Do you have any extra notes? I wrote down, I can't believe she's carrying all these balls all movie. Like the memories. Joy.
Oh, yeah.
Joy was carrying all these balls the whole movie. And I always notice like an inconvenient amount of time holding an inconvenient amount of weight in movies. And it's something that stresses me out in every movie I see
Yeah.
it.
It's like when you see a scene in a movie of like someone holding their breath underwater, you know?
Yeah.
And you're like, you kind of hold your breath too. And you're kind of like keeping mental note, okay, like, could they really hold their breath this long or whatnot, you know?
Yeah. Like, it's so inconvenient to hold all these memories in your arms while you're walking miles and miles and miles. I don't know.
Or like, you'll see someone like leave their house and like they don't close the door all the way or something, or you don't
Yeah.
see them shut their door. And so you're just like, that's just like this open door in the back of your mind the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it's just the niche things that you're thinking about.
I don't know.
It's not even a big deal. It's just like something that minorly stresses me out. I think that's funny when I notice those things.
Jeremy, are we going to have a quote off for this episode?
I don't think I have the mental capacity for it. If you want to not.
Should
Are
I
you
just
ready?
read off some quotes then?
Okay.
I wrote down some, but
Yeah.
I wrote down quotes for about half the movie and then I got interrupted.
Yeah. I don't think I can. There's so many tiny things and I can't even remember them all. It's just all like you laugh at them, but you don't retain any of it.
Yeah. That's kind of how I feel. There wasn't a ton that really like stick with me. The biggest concept that sticks with you is just the idea of core memories, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do have a few that I'll go ahead and say though. Congrats, San Francisco. You ruined pizza. First the Hawaiians, then you.
Yep. That's the only one I could remember.
Let's close the door and scream that curse word we know. It's a good one. It's mostly just Anger's quotes.
Yeah. He's the best.
I think there's like some workers and they're talking about which memories they should keep, and they're like, the presidents, just keep Washington, Lincoln, and the fat one. Like those are the only ones you remember the names.
Yeah.
Not you, Jeremy, of course. You have a whole presidential island of personality.
Thank you. I invested a lot of time and energy into that. In my leap pad.
I did like one of Bing Bong's quotes is like talking about the time machine. He's like, oh, once we flew back in time, we had breakfast twice that day.
Okay, okay, good. I wrote that down, and I couldn't understand what I meant by that. But it wasn't a thought of mine. It was just a quote. I was like, what does that mean?
Just the idea that you have a time machine, and so you go back and have breakfast twice that day. That's what you do.
Yeah, that's a good adventure.
And then Bing Bong's like pointing out the stuff around, and he's like, that's inductive reasoning. That's deja vu. That's language processing. There's critical thinking. There's deja vu.
Yeah.
I love a good deja vu joke. That
Nothing-
one always lands for me.
Yes. Try the
There's a scene in
caramels.
the
They
movie-
really are good.
Oh, yeah. I cry candy. Try the caramel. It's delicious.
He's the best. Bing Bong gives
I
off
feel like he's
the Monsters
underrated.
at Work boss vibes.
He does.
The Fonz,
Yep.
Henry Winkler. If anybody has seen that show, go watch it. It's really good.
Season 2 is out now.
Yeah.
And I liked season 1. I need to pick that back up.
Me as well. But I think that's all I've got. I really love, just one more thing I wanted to point out was I really love how close Riley's family is. And it's kind of like goals for me a little bit. I liked the family, the scene of them all being sad and hugging together on the floor. It's sort of like the type of family I want to have. That's cool. Yeah. Good parents. Another day, another staple. Well, everyone, our only question left is, what's your favorite quote from this movie? Let us know on Instagram at InsideQuotesCast.
And if you haven't followed us, go ahead and do that, and let us know if there are any movies you want us to cover on the show. Next week is going to be my turn.
All right.
And I will pick a staple of our childhood. And when we return, Jeremy, you will be married.
I will.
This will be our last episode before...
Oh, man. This
last
is crazy.
one recording, anyway, before Jeremy ties the knot.
Yeah. Some big things in my life.
Big
All
things
my
coming.
emotions are going to be shared with 2 brains now.
That's right.
Yep.
Just think, Jeremy, she's given up that helicopter pilot for you.
I would die for Abby. Yeah.
But yeah, we'll be back with another staple of our childhood. And here's a clip.
Look what the marketing guys gave me. Look, check it out. Listen. You love this.
It's clobbering time!
It's catchy, right? Isn't that great? Oh, that was the prototype!
Our show art was done by Bryce Bridgman, and you can find him on Instagram at GroovyBridge.
And our music was done by Alex Bird.
And we sure would love it if you left us a 5-star review. And if you do, we promise to read it right here on the show.
And don't forget, if you're interested in bonus episodes of the show, we're over on patreon.com/insidequotes.
Yes.
And you can hear our Inside Out 2 review. We covered that recently. Hear our thoughts
Which
on
I feel
that.
like was better than this one.
I mean, I liked it about the same as this first one.
Okay.
For
No,
our full
not the
thoughts-
movie, our review.
Oh, yeah. You
I feel
liked
like
the
our review is a little bit better. I don't know. Man, I just was so tired this episode. Anyways. Yeah, so thanks for listening, everybody. We hope you enjoyed us talking about our childhood staples just as much as we have. And if you did, make sure you hit follow on Apple Podcasts or Spotify so that you don't miss out on a future episode.
And if you like the show, share it with a friend.
Well, until next week, we'll see you next time on Goofball Island. I mean, Inside Quotes. Bing bong.